Namaste, I'm Nidhi Malik, a corporate lawyer, a strategy junkie, someone who once believed that ambition is God and work is the only life until life told me that the best laid plans can collapse beautifully. For 28 years, I had built a life which was like running from one meeting to another, building brands, and brands like Shell, Starting, Canon, to name a few. A life that everyone would call as perfect. This life of 28 years had its own test of grit. It was not easy way back in early 90s when I started the corporate journey to be a woman. I many times found myself alone, lonely I would say, in a boardroom which was full of men. And many times my voice was dismissed, or rather I would say silenced. I was also subject to some dismissals and some dismissals which were unfriendly and some passes which were unfriendly. I even had an opportunity to hear statements like, "Well, oh, you girl, what are you doing here in corporate? You're only good to be either in the kitchen or in bedroom." But I had no option but to work. To work, to survive for financial reasons, to work for the purpose. And I kept myself very clear that I will stick with my principles. I will live on my terms and I will focus on my purpose. And I rose against all odds. Or if I may say, I was going against the flow. Well, to just go back a little bit in history, today you may see as a successful person, someone who started at a salary of 2,500 rupees per month to an 8-figure salary when I left corporate. But this didn't happen very easy. I come from a lower middle ground family where I had only one uniform to wear. I used to go to school, come back, wash, iron, and then wear it the next day. I started doing household work from 5th standard because my mother used to work and we did not have money to have a maid. So she used to go to school, come back, and then I used to also help her with doing utensils, clothes, sweeping and swapping because she used to take tuitions and it was a tough survival. And from 7th grade, I started earning on my own. I started teaching. I started teaching students of lower grade because if I had to do something, I needed money. I used to feel very left out when my friends used to go to school canteen and eat samosas and patties. It was just 1 rupee, 1.5 rupee, but we didn't have that money. I used to feel left out when my friends used to celebrate their birthdays because I couldn't celebrate with that money. So I started teaching, taking tuitions. And I remember with my first tuition fee of 600 rupees, I went for a school trip to Missouri in 11th grade, and that was the most happiest moment because I did it myself. So I have been a fighter always, and that's what corporate doesn't like. Corporate is not very kind to strong women because leadership doesn't wear heels. So even today, if you see people at the leadership forum, you won't see many women over there. And hence, it is a difficult thing to survive in corporate. But I would just say one thing to all women is that it is difficult, but it is not impossible. You can make it happen. Stick by your principles. Stick by your integrity. Don't give way. Be strong and you will win. So this was the story of the corporate when I started rising. I had cut out my 20-year plan. CEO, startup, and boom, I was there. I felt as if my whole life is now in control. Finally, my life is a little bit in order after all this trouble in corporate I had. Little did I know that life is redirecting my journey. I have a son who is a special child. And like you teenage people, you suddenly go into depression. You suddenly take stresses of nothing. He also went into a journey of his own. And one day he called me in the office. I was sitting in the office and called, Mom, I am not finding my life meaningful. I don't feel like living. And that rang a bell in the mother's head. And that's when I decided to take a fight in my career. I thought it was for him. Little did I know it was for me. The life was telling me not to go against the flow, but to swim with the river along with its flow. And then I had a lot of time at my hand. I started questioning my career plan. I started questioning, why does it always happen with me? Why is it that when I start moving forward, I have to take a step back? What is my purpose of life? What does life want out of me? Am I going to always struggle in life? And obviously when you have these questions, you only have these questions when you have an idle mind. And when you're working, you didn't have the time. So when you have these questions, you start looking for answers. And so I also started looking for answers. And now I was reading online, I picked up a book. And suddenly one day, an article which was about our lost ancient wisdom of the 4 Purusharthas came in front of me. And it just happened. No plan, no plan at all, but it was something which was destined. And when I read those, Dharam, Arth, Kam, Moksha, they were just like some ancient words which we think are very difficult to live with. And I also thought that little did I realize they are the 4 spiritual tenets. And these are nothing very difficult, but these are very simple ways to live a human life. And that's when I discovered that actually I have lived only 2 parts of those 4, which is calm, desires, and earth, which is financial. And those are generally for others. Those are not for yourself. The rest 2, which are basically for me as a soul in my journey, were completely untouched. So I started exploring what is it. And I would like to share today with you to remove these doubts of what Dharma or Kam Moksha is. What is Dharma? We all misunderstand and mistake Dharma for religion. It is not religion. It is the basic purpose of a human birth. Our duties are already planned, our roles are planned. How we decide to play those roles is our choice. So dharma is also our choice. Arth. Arth is more interesting. Arth is the karmic currency that you bring, the debit and the credit that you carry forward from your previous births or even from the current birth. Now, how you choose to spend that currency, like your grandparents, how you choose to spend, is your free will. So it's a free will again. We have spoken about dharma, we have spoken about earth. Then comes calm. The moment we think calm, we only think of one thing. I see all of you smiling. But it is not just that, it is the desires. It is very important point of human birth. It's the desires by which the nature runs. The prakriti runs because of calm, the desires. The flowers bloom, the spring happens all by the desires. We all live because of the desires. Today, if we decide we don't have to do anything, we don't have to earn, we don't have to eat, imagine the life. Right? But which desires to follow or chase and which to let go is our choice. And the last one, moksha, which everyone says today, I want moksha, I want nirvana. Oh, moksha is not leaving everything in the world. That's a misnomer. Moksha is living in the world but not clinging to it. Moksha is performing, having ambitions, excelling in life, but not owning your performance. Because at the end of the day, we don't own anything and nothing owns us. So after moving towards these, understanding these four tenets, I realized that this life has brought me to live my dharma and attain my moksha. And the more I got into it, I realized that these are the basic four tenets of astrology as well. And I realized that astrology is not superstition. We all have been brought up to think that astrology is superstition. No, it is not even about prediction. It is a blueprint of our life. It is a map that is handed over to you and you decide how to navigate. So remember, astrology is not to cage you. Astrology is to liberate you, to achieve your dharma, artha, kama and moksha. But there's a problem. And the problem is that today, astrology is a marketplace of fear. Oh, Rahu, oh, Shani. It's a marketplace of fear, ready-made remedies, magical cures, gimmicks, and promises. That's not true astrology. And that's not what I practice. I did not leave the boardroom to become just another astrologer for commercial reasons. Now I knew what my dharma is. My dharma is set out to bring the real astrology, the Vedic astrology in its true form to everyone. To remove those fears, to remove those boundaries of predictions and help you attain your purpose in life. So I started a series. I've been a marketer all my life, so here also comes marketing. That is my bloodstream, where can it go? So I started a series called One is Talk, No Bakas. And through that, I started busting the myths. I remember one of my friends, he narrated a very interesting story to me, which was the reason why I started this. He said, look, very important, he said, your astrologers are ruining my life. I said, what happened? He said, my wife saw a reel where someone had said lock and key, and if you take a lock it and leave below a tree, someone else will open that lock and then this one will open. And he said, I had applied for a job. Those people had confirmed to me that I will be the candidate. My offer letter was about to come. And the moment I did the lock and key, the offer letter is gone, the offer is gone, and the position was full. So that gave me an inspiration that I need to bring the truth of astrology, and this is my dharma.